program. So that's kind of so that's kind of basically my story, going from why into cardiology into the residency. And like you guys have a list of very good questions. I think we can go over them like detailed. I don't want to give you the whole spiel about that, so maybe we can go step by step and go from there. But that's kind of briefly my story into cardiology and with Creighton, which they call the Creighton family. I mean, I think this program is a great program. One of the things I stayed here, I want to give back and keep making a great program so we can graduate more trainee and recruit as many as we can from Creighton student to the residency and the fellowship program.
Okay, well, thank you. That's really good background information into us, understanding a little bit about your journey. Can you talk a little bit about your time in, residency? It seems like you kind of already knew that you wanted to pursue cardiology. So what did you do in residency that, made you a qualified applicant to pursue fellowship?
Excellent question. And as you know, Kishan, there will be two type of people who end up doing a subspecialty, for example, for cardiology. One of them, someone like me, who fall in love with the specialty early as a student and kind of know this is the field I want to spend the rest of my life on. And the other person, and we can talk, someone who's not decided, or they have like couple of specialty that's interesting. And for example, I tell you, like doing this for some time right now, I always come across with the resident that they're not sure about either do cardiology or pulmonary critical care. So you kind of see that you don't have someone who want to do, for example, endocrine or cardiology. It's kind of the person usually who are interested in more kind of acute specialty, like like they want to make difference in life. They want a kind of stressful environment and deal with that. They like that adrenaline rush. So that's one thing we can talk about that. For if you know that you want to do cardiology, and I assume most of you guys want, since we're having this session, first thing, let people know that you want to do cardiology. Anyone you work with, let them know, like your mentor, your clinic preceptor, the cardiology staff, the cardiology program, let them know that you want to do cardiology. So they keep an eye on you. They kind of give you an advice, get you an interest in research project. For example, like we do like cardiology research interest group every third Monday of the month. I come across with many students surrounding me, but only if you tell me like you want to do cardiology, hey, how about this? You join us. We have this group. You can join. We'll get you in. Start step by step. So like doors will open. Opportunity will come up once people they know. But if they don't know, not everyone will take an extra step and ask you about what you're thinking of, what you want, and how can I help you. But the first thing, let people know. If you're not 100% undecided, that's okay. You can change your mind. No one will commit you that. It's your career. And the people you work with and your mentor and the faculty, all they want the best for you. They want you to get what you want. And actually, if you're not decided, that's a good thing, because they'll let you know why that subspecialty is good and why it's not that appealing to other people. So you're gonna get better insight and you can make a decision, and they will chat with you what make you not sure. And that's kind of open more things that you would know more about the field. For example, I'll tell you an example. I do a lot of mentorship and career advice for our fellow, because when we have cardiology fellow, at the beginning, all of them, they want to do interventional cardiology. But once they see that how the field is very intense and lifestyle stuff, a lot of them, they change their mind over time. So, it looks cool to be interventional cardiologist. Okay, but it comes with a price, right? It's your quality of life. You see a lot of complication. Patient dies in the lab. So it's kind of talking about very sick patients. So some people, they can handle that. They deal that very well. And some people, they don't handle that. So knowing what this specialty is about, it's very important for you. So let people know. That's my first advice. Then get engaged with research. And you don't have to be a research guru. At the beginning, you start just getting data collection. You barely understand what to study about, but it's kind of process. You go as you learn, practice, and then you build up your own network. You know who are people like that, they're productive, they can think things published with a great idea. And over time, you can come up with your own idea, but you have to start a process with that. So that's research. Now, a lot of, for example, the main cardiology meeting, the American College of Cardiology, they offer free membership for students. So apply for that. That will look good on your CV. You have an opportunity to go to like a big conference, so you can read like local cardiologists you work around in Creighton, for example. You see people from the region. You see people like a world known cardiologists, and you see like late breaking trial. Everything they offer, you can see it there by going one of these. So for example, these conferences, and as a student, you get free membership and significant discount to the price for that. So these are the main thing I would say. If you know cardiology, if you know that's the thing. If you don't, if you're not sure about cardiology, let the experience tells you. When you do a round on cardiology, sign up for that rotation. And if you get excited waking up at 5 a.m. and go see the patient and present them, and when you get an EKG, you get excited and you stay late and you enjoyed it and you keep asking questions, and then no, this is the right specialty for you. But if you run in cardiology, if it's boring, it's too tense, then probably this is not the right specialty for you.
Okay, thank you so much. That was very, very helpful. I mean, we have, a few students on this call that are interested, and then I'm sure several that are still figuring it out as we have, some second year and third year students. I know you talked a little bit earlier about you were interested in EP, but then ultimately stuck with general cardiology. I was wondering if you can just kind of give us a perspective of what your typical week looks like, and in general, what are the different things you do as a general cardiologist that, comprise your practice?
Yes, yeah, so that's a good question. Actually, a unique thing about Creighton, we have a hybrid program. So like the academic cardiology and a private style of cardiology. For example, when I'm around at Bergen Mercy with the student, the resident, and the fellow, I usually run 1 week at a time on floors. I start my day rounding with the team at 9. Okay, we start making round till the whole morning. Usually we'll be done by noon. They go to lunch. Then we'll meet in the afternoon around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and do some didactic sessions. Or if we get a new patient that we staff them together, we'll be done by 4:30. Now, from 8 in the morning to 9:30 before I start round, this is my time either to read an EKGs for the hospital or read an echo every other day. Me and other my associate, because we have 2 teams, we alternate. Now, between that noon break till 1 or 2 o'clock, this is my time to write my note. I need to attest the fellow's note, answer my in basket for my patient, and get something ready for the trainee. So that's kind of the whole week how it works. Usually we focus on teaching and learning that week. Over the weekend, there's no much time to teach. It's kind of get rapid fire round, make sure patient's safe, taken care of, get discharged, and get the whole team out as soon as possible. So that's kind of how it works when I'm making round. Now, the other week when I'm not making round, I do clinic. Usually my clinic starts from 8 till 4:30. I see patient depends. If they're new patient, usually we see a 30-minute. If it's established patient, I have 20 minutes for the established patient. You get your lunch break like everyone else at noon, then you keep going. That day, usually, it kind of makes about established patient that you know very well, or see some patient who got discharged, they need to be seen, or a new patient that they have a new complaint and they want to establish care with cardiology. Other day, I read only echo, so I spend the whole day in the echo lab, starting in the morning from 8 till 4:30. In between, I read transthoracic echo and also do procedure with transphageal echocardiogram. And usually I do like between 3 to 4. It depends. Some days even we can do up to 7 or 8 transphageal echo, which is like doing the ultrasound, like endoscopy, looking at the heart for some more complex cases. And then I do like outreach. For example, today I went to Harlan. I drive 1 hour, me and the echo tech, seeing kind of old patient who can't drive to town, do a stress test in the same day, do an echo. If there's any inpatient consult in the local hospital in Harlan, I do that. So I go to Harlan and Denison. I usually do that like 3 to 4 times a month. It's kind of good break because you get out of the city. You're over there, you're the king, just me, my nurse, and the echo tech. So everything I wanted, I can do it on the spot. That's it. And now when I make round on the other hospital, for example, Mercy, this is a private hospital. I don't have any trainee. I work with a nurse practitioner that all she does for cardiology. So we make round We start the same thing. Our morning always start at 8, unless if I have a meeting, I start at 7, but start at 8. We cover the hospital consult, around 8 to 10 patient. Then I see clinic patient, around 6 patient from 10 to noon. Then I read the EKG for that hospital. I read all the echo for that hospital and be done. So that's kind of basically how my month. Some of you may say, oh my gosh, this is too much stuff. Actually, this is the fun part of it, because if you keep doing the same thing every day, you get bored. But when you do this kind of style difference or exam, if you ask me, Dr. Smer, which is better, rounding with the resident and student or rounding by yourself or the nurse practitioner? I said, you know what? Both are different, and I love both. When I round with the student resident and the fellow, this is fun, teaching and kind of see how they think and get to know them, build that good relationship as a mentor and faculty, which is make the interesting. And every time I have different, sometimes you get a great team, sometimes you get a terrible team, sometimes you get like a superstar student or resident, sometimes they're not much interested. So it's kind of make it interesting, and get to know them is always fun, and tell them about how I do things. When I go around myself or the nurse practitioner, it just, I'm free on my own. I don't have any obligation to meet someone. So it's kind of, both are interesting. But that's one thing. When you go to a specialty, if it has more than one aspect, trust me, over time, that's a good thing. It's fun because it make every day is interesting. You're not doing the same thing, everything. So you don't get bored. It's always fun.
Wow, a lot of variety within general cardiology, which sounds like you're having a fun time and you're always doing something different each week, so it doesn't get mundane.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So let's just fast forward. Let's just say we're all finished our fellowship and we're trying to look for a job right now. Can you talk a little bit about the job market for cardiology, and then also like what can we expect in terms of like salaries and potential for growth within this field? Because we're talking about 6 to 8 years from now, and these are things that we're not really it's not really talked about within medical school.
Yes, that's a good question. So yeah, you guys may not be aware of the job market right now, but you guys all aware that heart disease is the #1 killer, right? Every year, more than 18 million people die from heart disease. So there's a lot of business for us, a lot of patients. So the job market for cardiology, it's always great, and always there's a job for you. The income, if you look at the internal medicine subspecialty, cardiology is the highest paid subspecialty compared with all the other subspecialty. I think that especially they get paid more. You talk about ortho, dermatology, and these are and plastic surgery. These are the ones that are highest paid. But in the medicine arena, cardiology is the one of the highest paid, because remember, there's a lot of patients, so you can make revenue, you can make the hospital busy. Cardiology always a profitable specialty for any hospital. And the same thing, it's important. It's important field, and you pay a lot and a lot of studying. So everyone appreciate how much you're doing.
All right, thank you so much for that. My next question, I guess, would be is like, what would you have wished you told yourself as you finished med school and started residency, or is something that you wish you had known about cardiology?
So you know what, Keishan, when I saw the list you sent me with the email, you and Lauren, I said, oh my gosh, those guys are really smart, because these are excellent questions. But this question, particularly this question, I said, start scratching my head. Nothing much. You know what? Let me ask for help. So I posted that question on Twitter to CardioMed, and a couple of my friends, they kind of retweeted, but guess what? No one answered anything. So I guess that would be the answer. If you go into cardiology, it's a big decision. You would know what you're getting in, basically. You would get, so there's not much like a regret or something specific. And that's just not my answer. This is like a lot of, and I usually get a lot of interaction on Twitter when I post, and no one said anything. People just pass by, hit click, yes, like, and they go.
Well, it is a tough question, I guess. So I understand the lack of response, but thank you for answering that question. I think my next question would be is that you are a associate fellowship director for Creighton, and so as we are pursuing internal medicine and then hopefully applying to cardiology fellowships or whatever fellowships they may be, I think we as applicants are always looking for what would make us more qualified. So I guess since you're on the other side, what makes an applicant extremely qualified for cardiology fellowships, and what do you really look out for in an applicant?
Yes, so good question, very good question, and very important one. The first thing, it's a package, okay? It's a package. Like there's nothing, one thing that will get you in or not. So I said it's a package, okay? Like for example, when we look at the application, first thing you look for your scores, how good you are like in knowledge wise, because because we want you to pass your board, right? You don't want to take someone who they're not doing good medical knowledge wise, you're taking care of sick patient. Like I told you, patient with heart disease, it's very common and it's a life-threatening disease. So we need someone who's smart enough that they can manage sick patient. And of course, you can pass your cardiology board and medicine board, of course. So that's one thing. The other thing, your letter of recommendation. You need to do well as a team player. Okay, when you work on round with faculty, if you get like good letter from everyone you work with, so you know what? Yeah, Kishan's a great guy. It's fun to work with. Of course, we want him to be on our team. I want this guy. So that's the one thing too. Then you look at the CV. How are you versatile in terms of you do some volunteer work, you do a lot of you do some publication research, and it doesn't have to be like a PubMed X publication or Jack or New York Journalism. As far as you show that you know how to get involved with research, do abstract, present in a local meeting, the oral presentation. So when you see like this kind of variety about, oh, this guy, everyone like him, his letter are good, his scores are good, he does some scholar activity. You know what? You read his personal statement, you feel like this is someone kind of pleasant and smart and hardworking person, and he know what he's getting into. Yeah, we want to talk to this guy. So you get an invitation. So it's a little bit everything, okay? And you make sure there's no red flag. And the main thing with the flag is about professionalism and attitude. That's what can get people out of this. Like we see the smartest people, but once they have an attitude, it doesn't work. Sorry, because you need to have that kind of humble attitude. People you come that you want to be taught, you want to learn. So I all the time when I interview a resident for fellowship, they ask me the same question. I said, Dr. Smer, what do you want in an applicant? I tell them like someone who is willing to learn. That's all we need. Okay. If you know cardiology, you want to be in fellowship, you're here for those 3 years. No matter how smart you are, if you don't get along with people, it's not going to work for you.
Okay, well, thank you. I guess my next question would be, given your field of general cardiology, I think for the most part, we've learned a lot about, the pros and how great the field is. Are there any cons to your field or job specifically that, you would talk about?
Yes, very good question. So first thing, if you think about cardiology in general, it depends on the specialty. For example, general cardiology, it's kind of more laid back, okay, compared to interventional cardiology. And now heart failure, heart failure become very intense with the LVAD, with the transplant, shock patient, they deal with sicker patients. So their quality of life is very tense. General cardiology is not as cardiac electrophysiology, it's kind of more intellectual, but it's demanding in terms of hours. And also now we're having an imaging when you become like, instead of a cardiologist, like a radiologist, because a lot of advancement with the CT, cardiac CT and MRI. So they spend more time lab. This is like a more very laid back style of cardiology. So there's a lot of variety, but the cons of the field itself, you're dealing with sick patients. So there's always, you're under constant pressure. For example, I play soccer once a week. My friends, some of them are realtors, some of them they have their own business. They can't just skip the next day if they have a long day or get injured. For me, when I have 24 patients in the clinic, I can't cancel that just because I sprained my ankle or get. So we're talking about sick patient. There's a lot of stake. We work a lot of work hour, sicker patient. So there's a constant stress in your life. If you don't know how to deal with the stress, if you don't have your break, your thing, for example, like playing soccer for me, not just a sport, it's kind of something break the stress cycle, work well for me. So everyone has to find a way how to break that stress, because it's fun, cardiology is great, but they're sick patient. So, and over time you get used to it, but doesn't mean it's not stressful. Now, the other thing, work hour, we work a lot of work hours. So I tell you my work site, I'm also on call too. So if you're on call, you're restricted. You cannot go out as much and do some stuff. You get called in for procedure for interventional cardiology. They have to be in the hospital early. For example, if you're on call for STEMI, you need to go at 1 a.m., 3 a.m., 5 a.m., and you have a full day the next day. And there's no excuse. You cannot say, oh, sorry, I missed my call. If you're on call, you have to go there. You need to do the PCI within certain period of time to fix. So that's put a lot of stress. If you end up with complication, guess what? It's not fun to go talk to the family or the patient to tell them, hey, something went wrong. So these I would say the cons of the field.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. That was, thank you for being honest and giving us some of that insight that we probably wouldn't get otherwise. And I think as we're wrapping up the meeting, we have a Zoom limit, and I also want to be respectful of your time. I think the last question I would ask is, we as students, we're trying to evaluate a field that's a good fit for us from a professional standpoint and personal in terms of lifestyle and raising a family. So I guess, can you quickly talk about like your experience kind of, raising your family and, establishing your kid's life as you're pursuing your journey as a general cardiologist?
Yes, and that's the thing for any subspecialty. Work-life balance is very important. You need make sure don't get sucked into the field and work too many hours and ignore your family, and because that's guess is not going to end well. I'll tell you that. Okay. And for example, I can tell you like I know for critical care, for example, I have a few of my friends, they're not doing that well because just there's so much stress in their life, and sometimes you express that in your house and doesn't work well. So and the answer I want to tell you is just like be aware of that work-life balance. Now, does cardiology as specialty interfere with that? Absolutely not. Because remember, we don't work every single day. We get the weekend off. We cover one weekend every fourth or fifth, depends where you go. You use your vacation. I can give you an example. A few years ago, we have a cardiologist was in our group, and he was such a workaholic that we have to force him to use his vacation. And the issue was, if he doesn't use his vacation, he's gonna lose them. So it's use it or lose it. And like, what's wrong with this guy? Like, he had like 4 weeks, and this is November. He had 4 weeks. He had not used any single day, and he's married. He has family, and he works so much. He makes so much money, and we had to come and talk to him. He said, I told him, you know what? This is not right. We value you. You bring revenue to the group, but we want you to have a healthy life. You need to spend time. So it's like something that you need to be aware of, especially when you go those things for specialty cardiology, critical care, surgery, for example. You need to make sure don't get sucked into those all work hours. Have a plan and make sure your family has enough time. And for example, I'll tell you one thing. For me, several years ago, I have three boys. Okay, several years ago, I was at home and finishing some work, and my son came to me, hey dad, play with me. And in my mind, I always blame my kids, take them to soccer, play together, PS, in my mind, I'm perfect dad, I do all that stuff. So when my son, and he was 5 at the time, he said, hey dad, come play with us. I said, no, I just let me finish this way. I said, you always work, you always work. So in my mind, that was like a wake up call. Oh my gosh, I don't want my kid grow up knowing that, only remember that I work at home. So was not good. Anyway, I was sharing that with one of my mentor, Dr. Dilkor, if you guys know him. And Dr. Dilkor, he tells me every time he had an interventional cardiology fellow that they graduate, can I give him like exit feedback? He told me, you know what? You will never miss a hard cat you did, but you're always gonna miss your kids' practice that you didn't go to, their basketball game or soccer game. So make sure you pay attention to your family. This is like when your kids grow up, like you're gonna miss all those fun days.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smer. That was,
Absolutely.
thank you for sharing that. And like I said, I want to be respectful of your time and also the Zoom limit that we have today. So thank you all for joining. We're very lucky to have Dr. Smer with us today answering all these questions. And be on the lookout for more information from our group. And once again, thank you so much, Dr. Smer, for your time.
Absolutely.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Dr.
Okay.
Smer.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a good